Hello, everybody. Welcome to my review of Longlegs. I'm going to talk about general thoughts and then get into spoilers later on. But overall, I want to keep this video short and sweet because I'm about to run out of light. Blu-ray of the day is Prey. This is a fantastic steelbook that I have not opened yet, but I will do so now because Prey is an awesome movie. That premiered only on Hulu for some reason. So I'm very excited to see it in a higher quality than the streaming version. But overall, this follows a group of young Comanche warriors who encounter the infamous Predator. And this is a prequel to the original Predator, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger and Carl Weathers. But this movie stars, what's her name? Amber Midthunder. Yes, Amber Midthunder. It's directed by Dan Trachtenberg, and yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. Love Prey. You can see the nice cover there. Amber Midthunder's performance is great. It's the exact kind of protagonist you want to root for in kind of a popcorn horror. This was a Best Buy exclusive, and it actually sold out. So people were trying to sell this thing online for like $75. But I found a European version of it for retail price. Hooray me! But yeah, this includes the Blu-ray edition and the 4K edition. I believe you can find it on Amazon Prime or other general online sellers. It's not rare, but yeah, Prey, highly recommend you buy it or just watch it on Hulu. But yeah, you would be dealing with streaming quality and internet quality and all that. It's a very different horror movie, but one that I recommend. And Longlegs is also one that I recommend. Holy crap, this movie is awesome. This is kind of exactly the movie that I wanted from the very first teaser, where it was just an audio clip of a guy saying, "It's not my daughter," and there's no explanation. There wasn't even a title. It just kind of said Longlegs in there wasn't a title in the trailer. It was just the little code by Longlegs written, and then you could see the release date in the description of Neon's teaser. And a lot of people have been talking about the marketing of the movie and whether or not this movie lives up to the hype, whether or not this movie kind of just is one of the scariest films of the decade, as they say, as a lot of the critics have said. I think a lot of those critics don't really watch a lot of horror movies, first of all, or when they do, it's like very mainstream horror. So I think that's why they say things like that. But this conversation overall is not going to be about the hype. It's not going to be about the marketing. I think plenty of other people have talked about that in their TikToks and their YouTube things, in their own podcasts. For me, all I care about is the work. All I care about is how the work made me feel. And Longlegs made me feel really, really disturbed. I saw this thing at 11:30 on Thursday previews. So I got out at like 2, and I woke up still thinking about Longlegs, still thinking about all the things I saw, all the sounds I heard, all the time I spent in the cage with Nicolas Cage. But yeah, I've never seen an Osgood Perkins movie until now. Gretel and Hansel, as well as Blackcoat's Daughter, made some waves in the horror community and among critics, to not a whole lot of success. But I'm glad he got another chance here with Neon. I'm glad they kind of let him take the wheel and let him really kind of cut loose, but also deliver on something that's maybe more palatable for general audiences, not so art house. I do think it is closer to an art house film than like a general horror movie, which might be the result in the mixed reception between audiences and critics. But overall, like I think Osgood Perkins did a really good job making a horror movie that's kind of in the same lineage as Silence of the Lambs, but still very different from Silence of the Lambs. So we basically follow an FBI agent tracking down a serial killer, like Silence of the Lambs, but it's very, very different. It's a lot more personal. It's also a little more supernatural, and a lot weirder. A lot more kind of abstract in terms of the behaviors the characters present, and in the way they act with each other, and in the way they just kind of accept when things go weird. But yeah, overall, I think Osgood Perkins, who I think is the son of the Anthony Perkins, maybe? I don't know. Um, but yeah, the direction and pacing of all the scenes and sequences is exactly what I wanted. It's very, very tense, and you feel the tension because of what you're seeing in the frame and what you're not seeing in the frame. Perkins loves playing with the center, right? So sometimes a character will be here, and you're kind of wondering, and there's a line either in the wall behind them or in the change in lighting, and you're kind of wondering what's over here, or it'll be the other way around, and it's very, very effective, very, very cool. Um, he also does this in wide shots where he'll place a character in the center and kind of looking kind of head on at the frame like this, and kind of just letting you sit in space with that character and sit in their terror, sit in their uneasiness. Shots are not very, there's not a whole lot of quick cuts in this. Shots are very, very drawn out and long. When something violent happens, they don't really cut away too quickly. There's also a good variety of tension edits. And when I say tension edits, I mean just the way that horror films are edited. So a lot of the films in the Conjuring universe kind of have this thing where they'll show you the character like this, and then the camera will go here, and there's nothing here, and then something will be over here, and then and there's not a lot of that in here. There's maybe one of those in Longlegs, but there's a whole lot more tricks that he throws in, and I think what it does for me is it keeps me on my toes. I never really know what to expect going into any sequence. Is he going to pay this off in a jump scare, or is he just going to let the tension sit? And most of the time he lets the tension sit, which I love. This is a very psychological movie. This is a movie that, like the main character, that wants you to sympathize with the main character by making you feel unsure of what's going to happen next. There are also several scenes that kind of cut away from the main character and follow the villain, Longlegs. And those scenes are not too different, actually. Like, they're very, pacing-wise, they're very similar. But because you're following the villain, you're following someone who you know is bad, who you know means harm, it's a different flavor of tension. And so I think it's very, very smart of Perkins to keep playing around with that kind of thing. I think one knock against it is that the tension and the actual buildup of suspense is actually scarier than the villain itself, unfortunately. But that's fine. I don't think that's too much of a knock against the movie. I do think that there are that there are things about the villains in the film, the villain in the film, that I really appreciate and really admire. The music and the sound design complements everything. We understand from early on in the movie that our character hears voices, sees things that aren't really there, and so those also throw us off as viewers. What is real? What is she actually hearing? What is she not hearing? Loud sounds will be even more exaggerated to her. because she's so sensitive to sounds. And I think that's a very good choice. And the color actually really works. I really love the way the film uses white and red and the orange work. I know orange and blue nighttime scenes kind of piss me off sometimes, but um, there's a scene where a character is just kind of home alone and writing down in a notebook or reading a Bible, and the colors work for that scene. The colors work for that scene. But yeah, I love the use of white and red. Um, and yeah, the direction also, I think, really helped the performances. Micah Monroe is no stranger to horror. She's played very different protagonists over the years, and It Follows, in The Watcher, and in here. They're all very different characters. In this one, she is no less convincing. She is no less believable. She's no less easy to root for. I really like the character that she plays in the movie because she's kind of in this shell. And even though she's an FBI special agent, even though she has all this training, all this experience, um, you can tell that the details of the case really, really cut to her, really cut her, really take over and bury themselves. The details bury themselves within her heart, and something about this case feels close to home, but she's not really sure what. That's kind of what I like about the protagonist and what I like about her performance. She never really lets that go throughout the entire thing. The way she kind of handles the voice of the character is also very good, you know. She'll like you'll see sometimes where she'll talk and she goes into her FBI training, but then she falters. You know, her voice is shaky. It's not super stable, and it takes a long time for her to for me to. It took a while for me to realize why. From the first scene, we're getting a very, very interesting side of Cage. He has said publicly in an interview with the AP that he based the character on his mother, which is very weird, but also, you know, very interesting that he kind of took a figure in his life who struggled with mental illness, but was also very nurturing and very soft-spoken, and I think that kind of makes Longlegs very eerie and very different as a villain. I think the image of him sticks out, but also the voice of Longlegs is really what sticks out to me. Is he the scariest part of this movie? Is this an all-time great horror villain? I'm not so sure, but I do think Cage is solid throughout the entire film, from the physicality and because of the physicality of the character and because of the voice of the character. I think he did a really good job, and I think he serves the movie well. He serves the aesthetic of the film well, and this is a film that I think was made for him. I don't think anybody else could have played Longlegs, and if they did, it would be a very, very different movie. So yeah. Also in the film, Blair Underwood plays Agent Carter. Alicia Witt plays Ruth Harker. They are also very solid in the film. I really enjoyed the performances, even though they're kind of playing side characters. They're very believable. They're very grounded in reality and grounded in real human emotion. Michelle Choi Lee, who I don't think I've seen before, plays Agent Browning. Her character, I could have definitely used more on the page. Definitely used more writing to kind of get to know her character more, because I don't really know her character at all. But performance was solid in the film. And yeah, the ending is explosive and it's cool, but I would say 50% predictable. Like, I sort of knew where and when the ending was going to happen. I didn't know what was going to happen, and I didn't know who was going to be there. So there's that. That's really cool. I think I don't really knock that against the movie, because I've seen a lot of horror movies, but also telegraphing your twists in the dialogue actually, I think, helps with repeat viewings. So when I go watch this movie again, I might actually enjoy it more. I'm hoping that this is the case with Longlegs. You know, this is a film that I highly recommend, and the film that I will definitely rewatch. A film that I encourage you guys to watch twice or three times. It's very, very fun, very, very tense, and very aesthetically pleasing for my taste. So that's the end of the spoiler-free review. I'm going to get into spoilers right now. Okay, yeah, so the ending. We find out who Longlegs is, who he serves. He serves the man downstairs, Satan himself. He says, "Hail Satan," kills himself, and then it doesn't end. There's more. We find out that Ruth Harker, Lee's mom, is heavily involved in the killings and is actually the one who plants the satanic dolls in the homes, gets the family possessed, gets Longlegs' spell cast on the fathers of these families, and really and is kind of the anchor of the serial killing of the killings in Longlegs. And this all comes to a head at Agent Carter's daughter's birthday, where Lee has to kill her mother, kill Carter, and in order to save Carter's daughter. And then we're kind of left on an ambiguous note because she tries to shoot the doll and it doesn't work. So what happens next? Ooh, I don't know. Which is why I want to see it again. But yeah, the ending I think was very, very, very cool. Very, very tense. Not, I think, not scary in the sense like, ah, or scary in the sense like, ugh, but scary in the sense like, ah, like you when it finally comes together and you see the mom kill Browning and then shoot her again, you're like, ah, and then you're like, oh, okay. I think, unfortunately, the reason why I'm not like, ugh, is because the idea of using a voiceover monologue to explain everything, I think, works on paper, but because we've never been in Ruth's mind before, it doesn't really work for me as a viewer. And so getting it all kind of revealed in one big, explanation throw up, I think hurt the tension for me. I would have rather seen all those Ruth flashbacks with no monologue. I would have loved to just see her kind of just struggle through every single killing and then get used to it. And we see it in her eyes. Alicia Witt is very capable of this. I saw Midnight Mass. She's a very, very good actress. She can show without telling you everything. And so for me, that monologue was probably the biggest weak point of the film. Not enough of a weak point for me to totally disregard the film or totally disregard the ending, but I think kind of having the aha would have been a lot scarier if I just watched it. And it would have made me feel like, ugh, if I just watched it. That being said, there were plenty of things that made me feel like, ugh, like the maggots, the father killing the wife with an axe, the father of the surviving kid killing the mother with an axe, and seeing kind of from the doll's perspective, I thought was very, very interesting, very, very cool. I think overall the killings and the disturbing nature of the murders kind of being very, very just brutal, but also presented in a matter-of-fact way. I talked about the camera work. It's the same for the killings. It's very center-framed. It's very easy to see what's going on, and it's very static. The shots are almost all static when something bad happens, and it makes you really think about, ugh, how that must have hurt. Oh my gosh, ugh. And so I really appreciate that about Longlegs. But yeah, I think this is overall a very fun horror movie for the summer. I highly recommend it to both general audiences and cinephile people. Um, but I don't think it's anything super deep. I think the themes about Satanism and motherhood and um, uh, uh, loneliness and identity. I think all those things kind of are are touched on, but not really chewed on. And so, I don't think this is anything deeper um, than it is. It's a serial killer with supernatural edge, and it's also very edgy. I will say, going back and kind of thinking about it, there was a lot of really cool dialogue moments, and so I definitely want to catch those, especially with Longlegs' dialogue. I remember he said when you became an FBI agent, we all laughed, like he was saying we as in him and his mother, like they were like talking, like that was kind of crazy. The mom always like asks if it's Lee on the phone, but she never really gets visitors. She doesn't have any friends. So who else is she calling? Oh shit, she's calling Satan, or Satan's calling her. That's crazy. So I'm excited to see if I can pick up on more of those details, more of those things. But yeah, those are my thoughts on Longlegs. I hope you guys have a great week. I love you. Goodbye.